Hello and welcome. I am Rhoda and this is the Rhobin Knits podcast. Today we have one finished object and a couple of works in progress and one acquisition that I would like to talk about. So if this is something you would enjoy, I hope you join me. Grab a cup of tea, grab something warm, and I hope to give you company for a bit. Like I said, I'm Rhoda and I live in a small town outside the Greater Toronto area, and sharing my knits with all of you has become something I've come to cherish over time. The only finished object for today is the one I'm wearing today. I'll post pictures, it's a lot better. The setup over here is a little difficult for me to stand up and show what I'm wearing, and this is the Cognac Sweater and this is by Atlia Caston. She also goes by Mary, so I don't know which is her name and which is the designing name, but I'm going to put her Instagram ID over here so you'll be able to go check her out. She does not have too many patterns, but whatever she's done is stunning and very simple, very minimalistic, but the design features are amazing and you should look her up when you can. Now, the reason I cast this on was because this was on my wish list for a while, but what prompted me to finally get to it was that this was part of a knit along, and the knit along was organized by two podcasters. One is Nikitina Knits and the other one is Good Knits. Now, Nikitina Knits is somebody I've been following for a while. I love the pattern collection she puts out, and even her projects are pretty unique. The yarns she uses are very different, and it's been something I've come to enjoy. So when she mentioned the knit along, I decided to cast on right away. The knit along started on February 10th, so I casted this on February 10th, and it was off my needles by February 19th actually. So it took me a total of 9 days to finish it and 2 days for it to block. We'll talk about the pattern first and then I'll go on to talk about the yarn. So for the pattern, you cast on at the back like you would for a drop shoulder sweater, and you work a series of short rows. Once the short rows are over, it's not too many rows, so once the short rows are over, you would pick up for one shoulder, do the short rows, and then repeat the same for the other shoulder. Then you cast on stitches for the neckline, join everything in the round, and start working increases, and the increases are worked for the sleeves first. So a certain number of increases are worked, and then towards the bottom, right when you're reaching the underarm, increases are worked both for the body and the sleeve. After that, you join in the round, and the sweater is worked on like any other sweater. You just go in the round, finish the body, and the finishing of the sweaters, the sleeves, the collar, and the bottom, there are two options that you can choose. One is an I-cord and the other one is twisted rib, half twisted rib. So I decided to go with the half twisted rib. This is what it's looking like. And I don't regret it. It is a very different ribbing than what I've been doing in the last few months, but this reminded me of the kind of knitting I used to do. I used to always twist my stitches, and so I tried to go back to the old technique. Funnily enough, it was difficult to get back to it, but once I got back to it, it was easier to do that, to go into the front loop of a knit stitch and then twist it the other way versus knitting through the back loop. And so I finished it. I'm a very, very happy person wearing this. The finished object is wonderful. The design techniques were good, so this has been both a process knit and a product knit. When I was working on the sweater, I knit the body a little too short, and that was the only thing I had to stop, rip back and do, because I wanted the body to be a little longer. I followed the instructions as it was. It even gives you how many rows you need to knit for the body, but somehow that was not sufficient for me, so I had to rip it back. I blocked it and it still didn't work, so I went frogged and added some rows to the body before doing the ribbing again. That was the only change or the only extra work I had to do. I did not have to modify the pattern at all. I did not feel the need to modify the pattern, but I have been getting ideas. This is something I would like to gift knit for people because it's knit on 6mm needles, and it is a very quick knit. So if I'm going to gift knit, this could probably be my go-to pattern, and I can probably add a few embroidery flowers or animals or just few stitches over the sweater and just make it look a little different. For this, for example, I was thinking of adding some white flowers around the collar, but I decided to hold back. I want to wear it with different clothes that I have, see how it works, and then add that if required. The yarns I used for this sweater are from Knit Picks. It's the High Desert Sport and it's in the colorway Stargazing. And I held it with a second yarn that was Camarose Minesteral in the colorway Jeansbl. I'll put the yarns over here. I'll put the picture over here. I had an option of selecting a brown version or a blue version. I went with the blue one and I'm very happy with it. The Camarose Minesteral has a very subtle glitter core. So if you look at this, I don't know if you can actually see the glitter. It sparkles only at certain angles, and I really like that about this sweater. I feel I can wear it all through the year because the sparkle is so subtle, but I would get more wear out of it during the winter months between Thanksgiving and Christmas as well. The Camarose Minesteral actually does not have any mohair. It has alpaca, it has wool, it has polyamide, and it has nylon. I am going to put the breakup of each of the fibers over here, and if I made any mistakes, you would see that here as well. But I am surprised because usually alpaca yarn causes some level of itch, but this has been itch-free so far, and I'm very happy about that because this is a sweater I intend to wear quite often, and the less the itch the better. It's more comfortable and convenient. The Knit Picks yarn was a sport weight yarn, and the Camarose one was of course lace, but somehow, even though I knit it in the 6mm needle size, the lace weight yarn, or it's similar to mohair's brushed alpaca perhaps, has somehow filled in the gaps, and so I don't feel like this is a see-through sweater even though it's an open gauge. The hairy yarn filled in the holes that would have otherwise been there, and it's a very comfortable, very drapey sweater. It feels lightweight, and this is a gauge that has started to intrigue me. I want to knit more sweaters on 6mm needles but use thinner yarns. I know that I have to be careful with what kind of yarns I use because I also know that knitting on open gauge could lead to pilling of yarn more quickly. So I need to be a little intentional with my yarn choices, but this has kind of opened a whole world to me. So that's about the Cognac Sweater. If this is something you are interested in knitting, I would highly recommend the pattern. It's very simple, very straightforward, and I did not have a problem following the pattern at all. Mary also has another t-shirt pattern, and I intend to cast it on for this summer, so stay tuned. The first work in progress I want to talk about is the Traveler Shell. This is a pattern by Andrea Maury. I'll put a picture of what the pattern is supposed to look like. And I wanted this as a throw-on for something to throw on over summer sweaters. Summer dresses. Some of them are very strappy and could be inappropriate for certain circumstances. Say I'm wearing it to church, I'd rather have something to throw on. And this is something this pattern was something I felt fit right into that need that I recognized my wardrobe had. The last time I talked about this pattern, I had just cast on. I was doing the ribbing, and there has been a fascinating part of the ribbing that I have carried on to this sweater actually, and that is I don't know if it is a tubular cast on, but it is where you knit and then slip the purls instead of knitting into the purls, and that gives a kind of sturdy edge to whatever you're knitting. I implemented that method on the sleeves, the neck, and the bottom ribbing of this sweater, and it has been pretty good. I intend to do that with all of the sweaters. So this is how far I have gotten. I am trying to figure a good way to show you what this looks like right now. This was first of all a bottom-up garment. I have started to be a little more comfortable with bottom-up garments, and as long as it's for me, I'm okay to do that. But if it is a gift knit, I would always look for top-down patterns. So this is what it looks like as of now. This is the front portion, and the back portion is what I'm working on, and then I'll go on to work on the left front portion as well. So I've worked up the body. I have divided for the front and back portions. This pattern does not have sleeves. I need to be sure of that, but from what I've read in the pattern, it does not have sleeves, but it has ribbing at the end, so I'll go back and look at that again. One of my knitwear resolutions for this year is the gauge swatch. So I have gauge swatched for everything I've knit so far this year. I gauge swatched for this sweater, I've gauge swatched for the traveler shell, and I've gauge swatched for the no frills cardigan as well. I have not yet cast on the no frills cardigan, but the swatch is ready and I know I'm ready to go. For the traveler shell, the gauge swatch showed that I had extra length and width up to 1 inch, so it was a perfect square. The swatch was a perfect square, but it had extra width and length on both sides, and so I decided to go down a needle size and also go down a garment size. This is originally knit on 3.5 millimeter needles. I decided to go down to 3.25 millimeter needles, and the size that would be perfect for me was size 4. I've decided to go down to size 3. Now, before joining the front and the back and doing the ribbing and the button band, I intend to block this, see how it wears, how it fits me, and if I need to make any modifications like adding on a few rows, I intend to do that before I join the front and the back. This pattern is knit on very small gauge, and I've decided to take my time with it. I'm not rushing myself, but I'm also finding out recently that I am a monogamous knitter. I've been hesitating to cast on new knits until I finish the previous projects I'm on, which is a little unusual for me. This is something I've developed this year. Let's see how far I can keep it up. And this is my Stockholm sweater. This is a gift knit that has been carried on from 2024 to 2025, and I intend to finish it before the spring knitting begins. And there has not been much progress except that I finished the body, done the ribbing for the end of the body, and I've done the collar as well. The sweater immediately looked a lot better. I just have to do the sleeves. I intend to pick up stitches for the sleeves and use the sleeves as my evening knit when I'm watching podcasts or just catching up on movies. I usually do a lot more podcasts than movies, but this could be my evening knit, so I've kept this for then. So those are the 2 works in progress that I really wanted to talk to you about. Now, the next project I have brought up for myself is different in the sense I have to re-knit the entire project. This was a gift knit. This was the Wrap Me Up sweater scarf. You can see the sleeves over here, and here is the other sleeve. I will put pictures of how this is designed to fit and wear, and you can see it. Now, if you look at the fabric of this scarf, they are all twisted knit. That's because back in 2024, when I started knitting, I was twisting all of my stitches, and I learned to knit only towards July of 2024. I learned to knit everything properly. So if you look at the sleeves, for example, they're all twisted stitches. I'm trying to turn it towards the light so you can see it. They're all twisted rib, and so it has not been fitting great for the wearer. What I always appreciate about gift recipients is if they can come back and tell me to make a modification versus not wearing the gift at all. And so I was very happy when this person came and said this is not fitting them really well, and if I could just make a change with the ribbing, make the sleeves a little more loose so it could fit them just right. One of the reasons is these sleeves are knit on a very tight gauge, as though it stays, because it's a sweater scarf. Your entire body, if you're not wearing the right kind of clothing on top, can be exposed if the sleeves are not knit right. So I have decided to go ahead and rip the entire project and to work on it from the beginning, but do a proper knit stitch and be a little more lenient with how tight the sleeve ribbing is. So that is the Wrap Me Up sweater scarf. This is a pattern by Knititude. I have decided to go ahead and use the same pattern. I'm not making any changes with the pattern, but I just want to make sure that this is more comfortable, convenient, and usable. I'm also going to be using the same yarn. I have a ball of this color, Merlot, and a ball of this Nighthawk. If you watched my yarn organization, you might have seen these yarns and they might look familiar. So if I need more yarn, I am going to dip into those skeins and see if I can use that up to make a more broader version of this. But other than that, there are not too many updates or changes I want to make. I'm gonna stick to the pattern as is. those are the 3 projects I want to get done before spring knitting begins. And for me, I would say spring knitting would begin by the 2nd week of March. One of the reasons I picked the 2nd week of March is because the time changes. I am very much looking forward to the change in the clock, and it's going to be more daylight hours, and it's going to be warmer weather, and it's just going to be more motivating to knit spring and summer knits. So I'm just going to wait for that clock change, and I want to get done with all of the winter, at least these projects, before that. After that, I would want to cast on the no frills cardigan, and that would be probably the only project that I would be working on for quite some time, because I really want to get that done and finish it in time for the person's birthday. That person I'm knitting it for is going to turn 50, so it's pretty special, and I don't want to delay in finishing that knit on time. I do have an acquisition. It's not yarn, but it is a book, and this is a book called Lakeside Stitches. It says Gentle Knits from the North. It's by Ronya Hakaleto. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. I will put down her name over here. She is on Instagram. Her stories and images and posts are very, very exciting to watch, and you can go follow her if you are interested. This book has a total of 19 patterns, or 20, between 19 and 20, and 2 of the patterns really caught my eye. What I really like about the book in the first place is that it has a very nice mixture of different patterns. It has good amount of pullovers, it has slipovers, it has summer knits, it has hats, it has socks. It also has at least 2 patterns are knitwear for children. And with that much variety in the book, I was very intrigued and I really wanted to pick it up. I picked this up from a yarn store in Cambridge, Ontario. It's called Galt House of Yarn, and they are actually the only other people I know of who also carry Phil Colonna yarn. So I wanted to see the Phil Colonna yarns in person, but I was more drawn towards the book, and I left with just the book. I also got a few yarns for one sweater, but I have it packed away, so I'm not pulling it up right now, but I do want to talk about the book. So this is one of the patterns that looked very, very interesting to me. I'll probably put a picture of the pattern over here. It's called Laxo, and it is a slipover. It's a cable knit slipover, and it's beautiful. And this was another color work that was fascinating. This pattern is called Soho, and it's a monochrome color work, just white or cream with another color, but it's beautiful as well. So I am looking forward to getting to those 2 patterns sometime. Maybe not this year, maybe later. We'll see how it goes, but I am looking forward to stitching a few patterns from here. I think the first few patterns I would get to, although, would be the kids patterns, and I'll keep you posted. So this video is actually going out a day late, because I wanted to make sure I had this finished object photographed, fully dry, and all ends woven in. I wanted to make sure I wanted to give a good report of what the whole process was like and what the experience of knitting and wearing it was like. Now that I have taken the video, taken the pictures, I know I'm gonna live in this for a while. It is the new finished object, good feel, and I want to enjoy it as much as I can. With that, I'll say bye. Thank you for hanging out with me for so long. And if you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to like the video and subscribe, or share it with people who might watch similar videos. Thank you for being here, and I wish you happy knitting.